Finally, the ICA!
Yeah, wait a second. I think we're at the dance.
Ooh, do you have any drink tickets?
I'm out. I think like Foster's are $15 a pop.
Let's get at it.
Yeah, this is more like it.
Yeah, like in freezing cold ICA. But let's get the presentation going.
Yeah, let's see if I can figure out this tech.
Ooh.
Nope, that's not it. Wrong button. There we go. All right, y'all. Welcome to our presentation. The title of our paper is called The Queuing Power of Controversy on Social Media.
My name is Anna Maria Duchak-Segestan.
And I'm Michael Becerra.
Niels Holmberg and Didrik Nierhorster, all of us from Lund University in Sweden, have contributed to the making of this wonderful presentation and paper. The main argument of which is that controversy in Facebook comment fields affects news engagement. We define news engagement in three ways: attention, selection, distribution. What do we mean by that? Attention refers to visual attention specifically, or we translate that in dwell time on the comment fields. And we normalize that, reducing the variation in the number of characters of each comment. So it's adjusted to the size of the comment. Selection refers to the self-reported likelihood to click on a Facebook post in order to read the full article of a newspaper. And distribution refers to the self-reported likelihood to share the Facebook post.
So, looking a little bit at the theory, we follow others in defining controversy as the portrayal of disagreement, where there's a long history of showing that controversy is a key driver of news selection, both for journalists and citizens. But on social media, a lot of these editorial cues are supplemented with community cues, things like likes, comments, and shares. And this leads to a practice known as the socialization of news consumption, where prior research shows that likes don't really have an effect on citizens' likelihood to select a news story, but negative cues such as downvotes or negative comments do seem to. So we also know from previous eye tracking research that user comments are influential in affecting how citizens select news. And there's also a recent study that shows that the ideological slant of a news article, when there's a disagreeing comment, that also seems to drive news selection.
That's why we're able to formulate four distinct hypotheses. The first one refers to visual attention. We hypothesize that disagreement in the comment field will increase attention to those comment fields.
And the second hypothesis has to deal with citizen selection of news, and we hypothesize that a disagreeing comment will trigger people to be more interested and more likely to read the news story.
When it comes to likelihood to share a news post, we hypothesize that disagreement in the comment fields will reduce the likelihood of a news post being shared.
And lastly, across all these three behaviors, we hypothesize that there will be a difference between hard and soft news, which we look only at the topic. So hard news being economy and politics, and soft news being issues like entertainment, sports, and culture.
We use a mixed method research design to test these hypotheses. We combine a selective exposure experiment that uses eye tracking with a survey of a convenience sample of 96 Swedish students at Lund University, of which 55% were girls. These respondents were mostly interested in politics and society and not quite interested in sports. 57% of them checked their Facebook regularly, 55% reacted to the post, but only 11% shared a Facebook post in the past week.
In terms of crafting up our stimuli, we used real Facebook data from the Swedish tabloid Aftonbladet, which is the largest news publisher in Sweden and the most popular among our particular sample. We downloaded all the Facebook data from this outlet across 2017 and took the median number of shares to kind of control for the shareworthiness of the news article. We selected posts around this median for our 5 news genres, and then we selected real comments that were either in agreement or disagreement with one another, not necessarily the content of the news story.
As you can see behind me, we have divided each Facebook post in 8 areas of interest that were specifically trained for the eye tracker. We also maintained in our data sample 73% of the trials because we wanted to include both comment fields because the comment treatment appeared in comment number 2. The gaze behavior was measured in dwells, which represents one or more consecutive fixations on the same area of interest. And at the end of each eye tracking experiment, we followed up with a survey asking demographical questions as well as genre interest and Facebook habits of each respondent.
So before getting into the hypothesis test, this is kind of a general result that shows the gaze pattern behavior of our participants. And what it shows on the left is the amount of time spent on the post, the kind of top half where the editorial cues would be. Second chart in the middle shows the time spent on comments. And then the third shows after they had been exposed to the comments, how long did they spend going back to the post? And we find really no effect of either the agree or disagreement condition or soft or hard news in driving attention back to the news story.
We did find that we had enough dwell time for the comment fields in order to pursue our investigation using statistical models, LME models to be more specific. And we found that indeed our hypothesis that disagreement between comment fields will increase visual attention was indeed confirmed. When we added the interaction effects between hard and soft news, we also see that indeed there is a difference in that people in our sample spend more time on hard news comments than on soft news comments. We also wanted to look at the effects of attention or the distribution of attention on the post and on trials that only included attention given to comment number 1, where the disagreement condition did not affect the behavior of the respondents, and we could constatate that indeed the genre interest of the respondents played a major role in driving up visual attention.
The second hypothesis looked at, or we expected that disagreeing comments would increase citizens' likelihood to select the news story. So again, after each post, citizens were asked, how likely are you to read this news article? And we basically don't find any effect of disagreement on citizens' likelihood to select the comments. That seems to be driven by genre interest again. But when we did test the difference between hard and soft news, we find that the disagreeing comments depressed citizens' likelihood to report reading that story.
Finally, looking at the likelihood to share a Facebook news post, we overall find very little data in this particular chapter, which fits with the survey. However, we had enough data to be able to test our hypotheses, which eventually got confirmed in the sense that, as we expected, disagreement comments or comments in disagreement with each other reduced the chances of a Facebook post to being shared. We also look at the interaction effect, but we there find no effect, no difference between hard and soft news. So again, if you want to take a screenshot, this is your golden moment because this is a summary of our findings. As we expected, comment disagreement increased visual attention to the comment fields and decreased the participants' self-reported likelihood to share a post on Facebook. However, disagreement did not have any effect on the likelihood of our respondents to read a certain news article. We found that indeed there is a difference between hard and soft news in terms of the visual attention and the likelihood to read, but not for distribution. And finally, we discovered that interest in the post genre drives quite a lot of engagement with the news behavior.
Which differs from some other research in the American context, so that's quite interesting. What are the implications of this study? Well, if it turns out that disagreement in the comments actually does stunt sharing, and particularly for hard news, then that may lend some evidence that trolling is actually an effective way to stop important news from traveling on Facebook. And methodologically, I think we make a couple important contributions. One is the need to take comment fields into consideration, and particularly to test difference in the valence of those comments and the discussions underneath, not just do they affect selection or not. Interestingly, I think by using real Facebook data, we may have gotten more real-world effects. I think we could have juiced up the disagreement in our comments and maybe gotten larger effect sizes, but that would not reflect what actual citizens are doing out there and seeing on Facebook. And we also point to the importance of combining both eye tracking measurements with survey data in order to better understand actually how citizens are engaging with news on Facebook.
So again, this paper is all about comments. So if you want, leave us a comment in the field below this video, or get in touch with us electronically if you want to see a full copy of the paper, or if you want to have an access to our full data. We have published on an open science platform all our stimuli, the survey questions, all the results, all the statistical models, and all the R code used in order to process this data. At the moment, it is not publicly available, but we hope once the article will be hopefully published, it will be available for everyone. But if you want to get in touch with us and get a copy of this data, you can also do so, and you're most welcome.
So that's it. Thanks for watching.